Okay. You're the boss lady, so we're gonna follow your guidance. I don't want to be on your bad side. So you want me to start, Dean, or you in following you
I can.
guys? Tell me
I,
what you
okay. Yes. Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Well, almost evening. We are so grateful to those of you who have come to hear from our alumni, his story, his time, how he's gotten to here now, and I think he has some interesting facts to tell you about the new venture that he is working in now. On Tuesday, he came and he delivered some a dynamic message to students, to faculty and staff who was with us then, and we're just looking for a nice fireside chat with him. Your your MC for the evening is our graduating senior, and we're so glad she's graduating, Miss Arlette Alexis, and she is really going to be the moderator through tonight's evening. So I will first turn it to Alexis, and she will be asking questions and directing the evening with Mr.
Roll. Uh, I like to say welcome to everyone who's here, even those ones who are hot. I see you, Anisha. uh, it is great to have Mr. Biggs with us tonight. I met him a few times in school, and the first time I met him, it was with his wife, and they were giving a speech and actually a course in school, and it was very motivational. Learned a lot from it. Got one of his books. Only read a part of it, but so far it's been going really good. So Mr. Biggs is the founder, president, and CEO at My Web Compliance, completed his certification at the John Maxwell School, is the author of the book, The DNA of Gutsy Leaders. He's an author, a leader, an executive, and business coach. And thank you, Mr. Biggs, for coming on tonight. The floor is yours. Anything that you would like to say, please do. Then we can get into questions. I think you're muted.
Muted.
There you go. That was quite an introduction. I said I hope I can live up to it. Um, Guys, let's call this a family fireside chat. I'm going to share some information with you, and then hopefully we can just have an open dialogue. Um, I'm excited to be on here with each of you because I know something magical is going to happen. Just want to brief you guys. Dean Roll knows all the details. Selling our home and moving to another home, and it just so happened that it's during this week. So today was the day that we are actually loading the truck. So the reason I'm so casual is I've just come back from loading the truck. I'll take some time and spend some time with you guys, and then we're gonna go right back to doing what we were doing. So you might say, well, did you know you were going to be moving when Dean Roll asked you? And I would say, yeah, I did. Um, I knew I was going to be packing and moving, and the students wanted to hear from me twice in a week. So I said, okay, I will just hit pause, throw on a hoodie, come on and talk to you guys, and then jump back and join my family as we finish loading everything onto the moving truck. So I felt that it was my duty and my honor to flex and bend and make it happen. So just forgive me for being so casual. This is not my norm. I'm usually corporate. I got people that will pay to get a photo of this. So I want to know where these videos are going, and don't use it to blackmail me in the future. Um, tomorrow morning at about 5 o'clock, we will wake up and we will be on the road, headed to a new home and new experiences that await Team Big. So we're all excited about that. So just my topic for this virtual fireside chat, what I'm calling a family chat, is connect when you communicate. As a John Maxwell trained coach, John is very big on speaking about connecting and what's the difference between communicating and connecting. So hopefully I give you guys some nuggets that are worthwhile you jotting them down and incorporating them into your overall strategy. Like many of you, I was scared silly at the thought of graduating back in 1983, as Dean Rowe likes to say. Figure Medgar started in 77. I graduated in 83. I think we were one of the first few classes that graduated. We didn't help build the building, but it was way back when. But I was scared silly at the thought of graduating, leaving the cocoon of professors that cared for me, and going to a marketplace where I was worried and I was wondering, was I ready to go there? Was I properly prepared and was I ready to go? Would they like me when I showed up in my brown skin? Would I like them? Would I find that we've got a lot in common? And lastly was, would I fit in? When I joined their ranks, would I feel like I fit in? So having graduated from Medgar in 1983, it is an honor here 37 years later to be speaking to individuals whom I must pass the proverbial baton to. Um, and I want to take a few minutes just to share some things that I've used throughout my career that have helped me. Now, at 61 years of age, what you would call pre-retired. I remember when I was at Medgar, I said I wanted to retire at 35. I was young and silly and didn't know no difference. It takes a lot to retire at 35. But I'm at pre-retirement at this point. Okay, so I want to talk about, there was a study that was done by the Harvard Business Review, and you could go and take a look at it. And it says the number one criteria for advancement and promotion for professionals is an ability to communicate effectively. I'm going to read that again because all the other items paled in comparison to the number one criteria. The number one criteria for advancement and promotion for professionals is an ability to communicate effectively. Doesn't say anything about hard skills, knowing your accounting, knowing your marketing. Doesn't say anything about any of that. It says communicating effectively. So I want to tell you that, one, it's not enough just to work hard. It's not enough just to work hard. You could be the hardest worker and still get laid off, still not get promoted, get passed over. So it's not enough to work hard. It's not enough to do a great job, because they're going to remember you for the last thing you did for them. What Janet Jackson said, what have you done for me lately? Wall Street, when I worked on Wall Street, it was, okay, you did a great job last month. What are you working on now? Okay, so it's not enough just to do a great job. And thirdly, to be successful, you need to learn how to really communicate with others. And we're going to unpack that a little bit in terms of how to communicate effectively. So if you can't find a way to communicate effectively, you won't be able to reach your potential, and it will frustrate you because you'll have all this greatness that's inside of you that you can't communicate to others to get it launched. And it's literally going to frustrate you. So what is the secret to communication? You might say, Coach Biggs, what is it? And my answer would be the secret to communication is connecting. Connecting. Making a connection with the person that you're communicating with. Not just merely communicating and exchanging information, but connecting with them. When you connect with those you're communicating with, I like to say 4 things happen. Your relationships are stronger. 2, your sense of community improves. I'll repeat them. Number 3, your influence increases, which is real critical. And 4, your productivity skyrockets. So I'll go over them again. 1, your relationships become stronger. Your sense of community improves. That's number 2. Your sense of community improves. Number 3, your influence increases. And 4, your productivity skyrockets. So you'll say, Coach Biggs, what is connecting? Since it's so important, since it's so vital, what is connecting? So I'm going to give you a definition of connecting. Connecting is the ability to identify with people and relate to them in a way that increases your influence with them. I'm going to repeat that. Connecting is the ability to identify with people and relate to them in a way that increases your influence with them. So that's a big definition. Let's look at it from an experiential standpoint. Think about teachers or professors that in your relationship with them, you only communicated with them versus teachers and professors that you connected with. You see the difference in your own mind? So there were professors that you communicated with, Professor Brown, Professor Smith, blah, blah, blah. But when it came to Professor Rowe, oh my God, I love her. She's awesome. We got a great relationship. You light up. Your whole body just goes like, wow. You're saying, well, how did she accomplish that? She connected with you. She didn't settle for just communicating. Okay. Same thing with family and friends. You got family and friends that you communicate with. You got family and friends that you connect with. That favorite uncle that you can call and talk to and have that real connection. So whenever you can help other people to understand that you genuinely care about them, you open the door to connecting. It's all about them. Sometimes you hear people that are talking at you and it's all about they're trying to sell you something or they're trying to talk you into something. They're making the conversation all about them. Connecting is the reverse. You're making the conversation about the other person. So I'm going to share some facts. Every executive coach knows these facts. We are trained on them. And I want to pass these on to you. And they are going to help you whether you're pursuing a professional career or whether you are pursuing entrepreneurial pursuits. These are some powerful facts. The first one, 55% of what our communication is about is expressed in our physiology. 55% of what our communication is about is expressed in our physiology. And by physiology, I mean the movement of the human bodies. So through the movement of your eyes, your lips, your legs, your shoulders, your hands, your head, you telling me one thing, but your physiology is telling me something else. You're telling me you're excited to be with me, but your body language is telling me you wish you were somewhere else. 55% of what you say to me comes from what you are not saying to me, but what you are doing physically. That's powerful. Here's another fact. 38% of what our communication is about is expressed in our voice tonality. The way you raise the tone of your voice, the fluctuations, the deepening, the elongation. 38% of what you're saying, I'm capturing from your tonality. Okay, so out of that 55, 38% of it is reserved for tonality, voice tonality. Then the next one, this is awesome. When communicating, words only make up 7% of our communication. Words only make up 7% of our communication. And it's the one thing we spend all the time on. What words am I going to use? How are we going to flow these words? I want to use eloquent words. I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about. Okay, all of that only constitutes 7% of what I hear you saying. And yet, in most cases, it's 100% of our preparation. So let me give you that 7% in another way. Okay, 7%, which means there's a 93% on the other side if we're looking at 100%, right? So what that means is that 93% of what we communicate is done so unconsciously. When you're communicating to an employer in an interview, when you're communicating to a client as an entrepreneur, right? 93% of what you're communicating is done so unconsciously. The way we move our hands and the way we move our eyebrows. You're not even conscious of it. But the person who's on the receiving end of it, they're picking up on it. And for those of us who have been taught how to read it, we're actually using it. So now I've got a powerful quote that is the foundation for my coaching training. And it's a powerful thought, especially when you think about interview and launching a business. And it's by a gentleman's name is C.G. Jung. He is a Swiss psychiatrist and a psychoanalyst. He actually founded analytical psychology. And he's credited with this profound statement, and I want you to capture it word for word. Here's the quote. Until you make the unconscious conscious. Until you make the unconscious conscious. It will direct your life. It will direct your life. And you will call it fate. Not F-A-I-T-H, but F-A-T-E. I'm going to repeat it. It's a powerful quote. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That's by C.G. Jung. Now I'm going to give you the Terry Biggs interpretation. In other words, until you master your unconscious communications, it will direct the path of your life. And as a result, you will mistakenly tell folk that you did not experience success because it was not your fate. And you will be wrong. It won't be that it wasn't your fate. It will be that you have not focused on making the unconscious conscious. Okay?
Mr. Biggs,
Yes, ma'am.
can you repeat your interpretation, please?
Okay. In other words, until you master your unconscious communication, it will direct the path of your life. as a result, you will mistakenly tell folks that you did not experience success because it was not your fate. And you hear people say that all the time. I guess it just wasn't the right time. I guess it's not meant for me. I guess these opportunities aren't people like me. Brown people don't do this type of stuff. That's us talking ourselves into it. And what C.G. Jung is saying is that there's so much unconscious communicating that you do that until you become conscious of your unconscious communication, you will unconsciously communicate a different message to others that you're trying to communicate with. You'll get folks saying, she's just not focused. And they pick that up from you unconsciously. You have any questions? This is real important, guys. This is critical. Careers are made or wrecked based on this philosophy. Okay? So 93% of what you're saying when communicating is said so non-verbally. Non-verbally, you tell me, I'm confident. I'm nervous. This is what your non-verbal language is telling the person you're presenting to, whether it's a client, a prospect, whether it's for an interview. I'm confident. I'm nervous. I'm lying. I'm lost. I didn't follow you there. I'm angry. I am so qualified for this job. You are communicating every single one of those thoughts non-verbally. So you go in and you do the interview and you're impressed with the language that you use and you walk out and you don't get the job and you're saying, why didn't I get the job? And when we asked the interviewer said, man, that person had absolutely no confidence, none. Where'd you get that from? Just her body language, his language. So 93% of the impression we convey has nothing to do with what we actually say. So why is this important? Did you have a question, Paulette?
Yes, Mr. Biggs, there is a question. How do we begin to master our unconscious movements?
I'm going to touch a little bit on it, but I can't get into details because this is supposed to be a chat, not a master class. So maybe we'd arrange a master class because there's a lot when you start unpacking your nonverbal language. There is so much that we say nonverbally that we have no idea about. And as a coach, when I'm coaching someone, that's why it's important for me to see you because I'm listening to you. I am focused on everything you're saying, but I'm multi-focused on everything you're doing. And I've pointed out to folk, I heard what you said. You just said A, B, C, and D. And by watching you, this is what I heard, A, B, D, and F. And they're saying, are you serious? Like, yeah, that's what your body's telling you. So we need to align it so that the two are saying the same thing.
And we will be doing a masterclass soon.
From your mouth to Dean Roll's ears to God's ears.
Yeah, putting it into the universe.
He just said he was retired.
Pre-retired.
Get him back. We'll get him back.
Pre-retired. He's not retired yet. And plus, he's an alumnus, so
you're right.
We will always have him.
There's no retirement from being an alum. None. I'll die a MEC alum. I will die a MEC alum for sure. For sure. As long as you find this to be of value.
Mr. Biggs, keep us alive. Keep us alive.
So look, let's wrap up and then let's go to questions because maybe you have some specific questions. Um, but I'm speaking to entrepreneurs because sometimes you walk away from a deal and you just can't figure out maybe it was discrimination. And I say to a lot of folk of color, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was that you didn't express yourself non-verbally in a way that sealed a deal. And when I say that, I could see minds racing back and recapping conversations and situations that have happened that we somehow put a check mark in the box and say that didn't happen because of this. And I'm saying, flip the camera around and look at you. Say, what did I do in speaking like me? I'm very animated. I do all this. So you know when I'm into something. You hear my voice fluctuation and I drag a word out, I get excited, I get louder. When I'm passionate, I get loud. You can't say, I'm very passionate about this. I don't believe you. You're lying. I don't care how good you are. I don't wrote, she's a liar. Not passionate. She's not. Because I know I got a team full of passionate folk. If I hire you, they're going to say, are you serious? She doesn't fit in. He doesn't fit in. They don't have a level of passion that's required for purport to be able to stand out in this team. We're going to eat her alive. We're going to eat him alive. Just remember that 7% of the words that you use, which is 100% of our preparation, only constitute for 7% of the message that they receive from you. So why is that important? As I mentioned in a job interview, when you're with your boss. So you land a job, you're talking to your boss, and your boss is undecided between who am I going to promote? Am I going to promote John or am I going to promote Susie? So I'm going to have a conversation with both of them. Whoever convinces me that they are a better fit for this position, that's who I'm going to give the job. And a lot of time it's based on being able to communicate, to connect, and not the hard skills. As Dean Rowe, you and I, we talk a lot about hard skills and soft skills. I've seen people who were deficient on the hard skills get promoted because they were effective communicators. They connected. And then they hired someone with the hard skills to be in a consultant role. I get you to do all the accounting for me, but when it comes to speak to management, I know management's language. I can talk to them. You get what I'm saying? So sometimes you're like, why did I get passed over? It could be because you're strong on hard skills. You know your accounting, you know your marketing, but you don't know how to communicate to connect. So you haven't connected with anybody on the team. All of your conversations are limited to just exchange of information. Nobody's going to say, oh my God, that Terry Biggs, I love him on a team. I love him. This guy's great. He never rests. He's always going after stuff. That's when you know you've connected with your team. But if you ask your team members, if I ask your team members, okay, let's say absence of you, I walk in and here's a team that you operate on. There's 10 people on the team and I say, what do you think of Bobby? He's a loner. He's kind of a recluse. He's on his own. What does that mean? I mean, does that sound like they embrace that person? It doesn't. What they're saying is he's on the team, but he's an outsider. He hasn't connected with any of us. He communicates with us, but he hasn't connected with any of us. So, characteristics of connection. Any message you try to convey must contain a piece of you. Entrepreneurs, your failures prepares you for your successes. Let me repeat that again. Your failures will prepare you for your successes. Because when you're talking to that next deal, that next prospect, that next client, if they're dealing with a challenge that you went through and you paid the tuition because you failed at it, you can now offer them front of the line experience on how to help them solve a problem. So don't be so fast to run away from things that you failed at. I failed at a bunch of stuff. I use it in my dialogue, in communicating, in building proposals, in coming up with advantages over my competitors. You know, I've ran a small business. I had a clothing store for 11 years. So I know what it's like to manage employees and payroll and this and that. So if I'm pitching to a client and they're dealing with an issue that I dealt with as a small entrepreneur running a retail establishment, we connecting. I'm jumping right in. Oh, it reminds me of the time when I had my retail establishment, my employee Maria. I remember, and they're like, "Oh, really? Wow, tell me more. I'm excited." This guy's not just talking hypothetically, he's sharing experience. Okay. I get excited and I don't get loud. So let me know, Dean. Am I getting too loud? Am I scaring anybody? Okay. So you've got to have some skin in the game. As I mentioned, characteristics of connecting. Any message you try to convey must contain a piece of you. If it will come off flat. Number two, nothing can happen through you until it happens to you. Another way of saying that is you got to have some skin in the game. You can't be a newbie your whole life. You got to have some experiences that you can withdraw on. The problem I find with a lot of entrepreneurs is they don't have a bank that they can withdraw on. They're too scared to launch out, too scared to do this, too scared to do that. So therefore you have a deficit. You don't have any experiences that you can tap and withdraw from. Your conversation has to be deeper than hypothetical references, or the person you're talking to will know it. Was I clear? Okay. So, graduates and scholars, as you move forward in life's journey, I want you to be ambitious, and I know you will. I want you to be brave, and I know you will. I want you to be proactive. There is a saying that I learned at the John Maxwell team, and it was coined by the president, Paul Martinelli, and I live my life by it now. And it is a powerful, powerful saying. And you, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are on the professional track, this is the saying: build your wings on the way down. Now, there's a prefix to that I'm gonna give to you purposely last, but this goes in front of that. You know what goes in front of that? Do it scared and build your wings on the way down. I got all this great idea to launch this new business, but I'm so afraid it's going to take some money and I'm not sure. Am I the right person? Is this going to destroy my life? It's going to take every dime that I have to do this. I'm so scared. Maybe I need to go back and review my business plan. Maybe I need to talk some more. Maybe I need to crunch the numbers more. What Paul Martinelli is saying is there comes a point where you're going to realize I will never have 100% of what I need to know to take this risk. And for folk who have been successful, they have learned to jump and build their wings on the way down. Because then once you've jumped, there is no going back up. You will find a way to build some doggone wings because you're headed straight down. And he's literally saying, embrace that adrenaline, that rush that says, oh my God, it's free falling. Yeah, it's happening. This is it. This is what I dreamed about. This is what I talk about all the time. This is what I'm so passionate about. I got to do it. I will not be one of those folk. Matter of fact, I need you guys to repeat this with me. I will not be one of those folks
I will not be one of those folks.
who take purpose
Take purpose.
Take purpose.
to the cemetery.
To the
To
cemetery.
the cemetery.
And my last note, guys, remember to be a connector in all your communicating. And we can go through some more on that if you want to, or if, you know, I just needed to strike a chord that there is more to communicating than verbal communication. And sometimes it is what is undermining in leadership development. I talk about something, what we call blind spots. For those of us who are drivers, you know, when you're driving, there's a blind spot. That car isn't there in your mirror, but the danger of that car is there. And your unconscious communication is like a blind spot. It is there undermining everything that you're trying to do. And you're not even conscious of it being there. And on that note, I'm done.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Biggs. I have a few questions before I turn it over to all of the other participants to ask questions. So, will the masterclass allow someone to see themselves, as in terms of, do you take the person or do you advise the person to take themselves?
Well, this is what I would advise. Go two ways with this. We can do the masterclass and get you information. The other thing that I would advise each of you to do, and sometimes it's a challenge, but it's something that I find that other folk have taken advantage of and our folk just haven't. My daughter had, for example, I'm an executive coach. I coach executives because a lot of times what will happen is, for example, on blind spots, right? I do an assessment of their leadership. And in order to assess you, let's say, Orlette, if I'm assessing you, I'm going to tell you, give me email address for folk who know you, who've worked with you. So your partners and all that stuff. But I also want your family members because they've been around you. And one of the questions I might ask is, what's her communication skills like from a scale of 1 to 10? Now I have you self-assess, right? So you'll self-assess and say, oh, Terry, I'm a 10. Give me a break, man. I know how to speak. I get my point across. Yeah, okay. And then you give me 50 people that I get to assess you, and I ask them, what's their communication skills like? And all 50 of them rate you about a 2.5. That's a blind spot. Everyone else in your circle sees it, and you don't. You think you're the world's greatest communicator. Everyone else, including your family, says, she's not clear all the time. That's a blind spot. That's something that's been evading you, and it's been undermining your success. You just haven't known about it. So we can do a masterclass where I can share information, but the other avenue that you can take is, I would say, if you can find the cash, put together some cash and get a coach. Like my daughter has a coach. I said, I don't recommend I coach you. I've raised you, and I will always be here to mentor you. I can be your mentor, but coaching, you need somebody that can actually look into your life and speak to you. My daughter has a coach, and the coach, you know, it's a career coach. So when she was looking to move from one job to another job, he offered guidance. So what is it about this job that you like? What is it about the other job that you think you didn't like? Oh, but you said so-and-so. Like, did I? Yeah, you just said that, or you said that yesterday. Just the conversation and a coach being trained to listen will provide you with some guidance and exposing some of your blind spots, some of your unconscious communication. So you can go two ways. We can do a masterclass, or I would look into getting a coach to be able to help you through. So because there's a difference between a coach, a mentor, and a counselor. Okay, counselor, you pay me. I'm an expert. You bring me in. I'm starting a new business. Terry, can you help me? Yep. Let's take a look at your financials, see what you're doing. Let's take a look at your business plan. I can tell you based on my experience and my success as a consultant what to do. As a mentor, I can say to you, well, come and tour my life because I've lived a successful life. So you could learn from what I have done. That's a mentor. A coach is you come to the coach and you say, I have been called, because I hear folks say this all the time, I've been called to start a business. Okay, you've been called to start a business. Yeah. And I am supposed to employ hundreds of families. Okay. And how are you told you're supposed to do this? And you start sharing all the stuff with me. And then I start saying, but what about so and so that you just said? We're going based on what you said. Every conversation I start as a coach, I ask you, so what is this session about? And you bring stuff to me. Well, let's forget about the business. I just got angry with my partner. Okay, so let's go there because that affects your ability to be an entrepreneur. It undermines you being totally present, right? So let's go there. So I would say it's worth the money to find a coach that can coach you through your stuff. It's beneficial. I hope I answered your question.
This is the dean. So is there only one-on-one coaching or is there group coaching?
There's group coaching. There's group coaching. Again, the difference is when you're dealing with a one-on-one, that coach is going to get to know you and they're going to get into your stuff. See, I'm a coach that gets into people's stuff. Forget me being a coach. I'm a person that gets into your stuff. Don't tell me, especially, see, I'm a Christian. That's my faith. Especially Christians who come to me and say, God told me to do this. Okay, so what's your preparation? Well, I haven't done any of that. So how much money do you have? Well, God's going to provide the money. Okay, so God's going to provide the guidance and the money. Oh yeah, okay. It turns me off because you haven't done anything. You have no skin in the game. So as a coach, I'm gonna call you out, whereby friends and family and good-meaning deans will tell you guys, oh, it's okay, it's okay. We'll get that together. We'll get that. I'm gonna say, yeah, no, it's not gonna work. I advise you not to do this. You're not ready for this.
What about the people who have egos? How do you work through that?
People who have egos?
Yeah. Because even though there are people who will come to you for assistance and coaching, some of them will not be able to properly accept some of the hard truths that you give them.
Mm-hmm. And the quote that I gave you by C.G. Jung, they will live it.
Okay.
They will fail and they will blame everybody else. You know the folk. You know folk who are not open to instructions and they have failed 50 times. And they don't get it. And that's why I say that is such a profound, it's a painful quote. Because when I was younger, that was me. And then we just say, well, it shouldn't have been. I guess it wasn't. I'm not ready or this, whatever. But sometimes our biggest, the person that undermines our effort the most is us. So as a coach, I am not here to try to fight with folk with their ego. I'm going to point out something to you, but you said this on this day, and this is what you're saying now. Doesn't sound like the same story to me. Now you might get upset. You're nitpicking. I don't. This is about your success, not mine.
Okay. Do you have advice for people who have no issues connecting but are quiet?
Folk that are quiet. Now, I'm a quiet person. You wouldn't believe it after that presentation. I am a quiet person. I literally am. When it comes to speaking and teaching, I got another gear. I get loud, I get animated, but when I'm in the crunches, like I've got a team that we just put together this company, my web compliance.com. And they'll tell you, I'm the guy that's going to go off on the side and crunch the numbers and pull up the research and grab the detail and crunch all that stuff. When it's time to come back to the table, now I'm ready to go to the next gear with everybody else. But you need to leave me alone so I can get my footing. So I can know that I know that I know is not the truth. I remember I shared on Tuesday, you've got to be able to be on a team and know your area to defend it, but you also need to know what the other folk areas are. So when they BSing you, you need to call them out on it. Say, yeah, but I read so and so and so and so, which doesn't complement what you just said. Do your homework, get your facts straight. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Next question.
So, I'm sorry. So if you're quiet, I'm going to tell you guys, work on getting over it. Because you're quiet and you're going in to pitch to a client and you're going in, blah, 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 blah. And, I'm shy, I'm quiet. And then when you leave, your competitor comes in and they are animated and they're connecting and they're hitting on all cylinders. And your competitor gets the call and they get the contract. And you don't get the contract and you say, I thought that person liked me. So I would say work on it. One of the biggest tools that I use as an entrepreneur is what I call role playing, and role play with a person like me. Like closing a deal. I'll do a close with you. Call me in and try to close me. I'm gonna give you a hard time. Once you start doing that, you develop muscle memory, so you know how to deal with objections.
Okay. Next question. There are people who they try to connect too much and it annoys people. So is there a way that they can tone down how much they overdo with themselves?
Yeah, see, connecting is a process and it takes time. You can't come in my office and connect with me in 2 minutes. I don't know you. You're a stranger. But if during the conversation, based on research you've done, and you know that I went to Medgar Evers and you know Dean Rowe, and you know this person knows Dean Rowe, I'll bring that up. Oh, you know Dean Rowe? Now, what you're doing is you're tapping into my connection with Dean Rowe. You saw the smile? You saw how I sat back and how I leaned? Because I'm thinking, we got it like that. We close. Dean Rowe. But don't get it twisted. Me and Dean Rowe. Okay? I can let you in the circle because you're connected to her, but I can't substitute you for her. But you've just earned some grace. Oh, we know somebody similar. Yes, yes. You can use that to your advantage versus someone who doesn't know anyone else that I know. Anyone that you're going to pitch to, anyone that you're going to recruit to, any company that you're looking to get a job, do your homework and find some of the commonalities that you have with them and use it in your communicating because it creates connection. See, other folk use it all the time. Oh, I saw that you graduated from Wharton. My uncle went to Wharton in 1956. Oh, really? My dad went. Oh, cool. Yeah. So when can you start? That's how it works.
And I think that's part of the reason why legacy is a big deal, as well as the schools that you go to is a big deal. That's why there's so many scandals about people trying to get their children into certain schools.
Yeah. But you know what? This is what I would say. Dean Roll has offered each of you relationship, which outlives Medgar Evers College. She's offered you a relationship. Don't see, sometimes the gift can be so unassuming that you don't open it. Sometimes you open it, but you don't take everything out of the box. And I am telling every single person on this chat, you've opened up a box called Joanne Roll. You haven't taken everything out of it. Okay? I've offered myself to you. Now, if you're going for whatever, whether it's an interview, whether it's a business pitch, You got access to us, not to abuse us. You can't call me and keep me on the phone for 45 minutes randomly. But you can hit me up and say, Coach Biggs, I'm going to be doing this pitch next week, 2 weeks from now. Would it be possible? Yeah, I know you're busy. Acknowledge that. I know you're busy, but would it be possible if you I got like 2 questions. I had 10, but I found my own answers, networking and so, but I got 2 questions that I still got unanswered. And if I get some answers, it'll make my presentation much better. Absolutely. Call me up. Let's talk. Me and you, one-on-one. Dean Roll will do the same thing. And other folk that you've connected do the same thing. Those are the connections that you need to use. And I literally talk a lot about LinkedIn because LinkedIn does something magical. Before LinkedIn, I know Dean Roll, but I don't know how many other folk I know that she knows. LinkedIn says, oh, these are 30 people you and Dean Roll have in common. Oh, serious? And one of them is the person who knows the person I'm going for the interview with? Guess who I'm talking to this week? Dean Roll. Dean, your girlfriend Susie. I'm going in for an interview. Oh, yeah? Well, let me call Susie up. It's that simple sometimes. It literally is that simple, but you need folk that are connected. A lot of times what's happening is we're calling folk that are not connected. They're like, girl, I don't know. I don't know nobody over there. I don't know nobody at Microsoft. You worked at IBM. If you're going for an interview at IBM, you don't think, and you might say, well, she hasn't worked there in a while. She's an alum at IBM until she dies. So unpack more of the gift that you have. There's more in that box.
Okay, so those are my questions, and I'm gonna go through each person. So let's start with Anisha. Anisha, do you have any questions?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, no problem. Patricia, do you have any questions?
I'll circle back with Coach Biggs.
Okay. Merlin, do you have any questions? Mer- Hello? Okay, I guess that's a no. Roxanne, do you have any questions?
Nope, thank you.
Okay.
I can't unmute.
Any questions for you?
Merlin wants to say something, but she cannot unmute.
Okay. She can type her question in the
No.
type your question out and I'll read it out for you.
She just unmuted.
Merlin, you're no longer muted. If you want to speak into the mic, you can.
Okay, she just said she doesn't have any questions. Any questions for you, Raquel?
It's actually, we've had such a wonderful session. We've gone over by a few minutes.
Anything last for you, Dean Roll?
No, I am just so so pleased and so happy. It was a dynamic session. I love hearing about the nonverbals. I love hearing about the networking, and he gave you a pathway. And we got to get him back for that master class and coaching. Thank you so much, Coach Biggs.
You're welcome, guys. You're welcome.
And
Good job.
2 callers on. Would any of you like to ask a question before we go?
One is Sean Williams. I'm calling you out, Sean.
Pat, you said double back. Do you have any questions or you're okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. We are
Oh,
already past the time in any case.
all right. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you a lot to Coach Biggs for a wonderful talk tonight, a wonderful family chat. Thanks for Dean Noble,
Absolutely.
fabulous event, and for Roxanne and Raquel who are helping out as always. So thank you guys, and tune in for the fashion show a little later. So have a beautiful night. And again, thank you so much, Coach Biggs. And hopefully you can give
Happy hour.
Good job.
Hell, isn't it happy hour time?
Yes.
Happy half hour.
About to start.
Happy half hour. Okay. All right. See you guys in a second.
Okay, guys, take care.
Thank you. Happy moving.
Arlette,
Thanks.
your
Coach
email
Biggs.
address, Arlette. Arlette, give me your email address in the chat box.
I sent it to you before.
You did?
Yeah.
The chat box?
Yes.
Okay, I'll find it.
Privately.
Yes. Okay. I will because I'm gonna send you the list of people who signed up for the fashion show.
Okay.
Okay? Because you're hosting that also, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. See you there in a bit.
Yeah, my mother told me I do not look fashionable.
You look nice to me. I don't know what your mother wants you to look like.
She's very critical.
Got on makeup and jewelry. The eyebrows did. That piece is wrapped right. So, and you have beautiful art behind you that puts us all to shame.
Thank you. I was actually worried about the stuff showing, but this is like,
Oh, that's, you know what? One of our people talked about framing online on one of these in on the screen, and you have good height on your technology, and your framing is pretty good. So you're not bad. You're off to a good start. So you're
oh,
fine.
thank you.
So I'll see you at the next chat
Yes.
for the happy half hour and everything, and I'll email you the list of people who signed up.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
See you in a few.